There will be no dawn for men. So at least claimed one futurologist in 2016. Many people feared the inevitable result of changing technology will be human obsolescence, but one futurologist is saying first, we will see the end of men, or at least women's need for them. This is of course in the now rather infamous "Women will have more sex with robots than men by 2025" article from 2016. Oh boy, how things have changed. As this turns out to have been, in part at least, an accurate prediction, but the wrong gender. Orifice AI. Oh, that is just too good. Oh, please, YouTube, don't ding me for this. This is too funny. The first robotic vagina. Powered by AI. We'll get deeper into the Orifice AI in a little moment, but I wanna just talk a little bit about this article as a funny aside on the beginning of the new year before we need to get all serious again. It was accompanied by this image, which is now no longer available apparently, but this was the image that came along with this, and you know, like, in and of itself, the prediction isn't actually that crazy. Back in 2016 and earlier, we kind of assumed that technology would kind of just keep moving at the pace it had been in the 2000s and earlier, with massive leaps forward near continuously, but not really. It started slowing down quite significantly, although it's still advancing at a pace that we have rarely before seen in human history, of course. But the assumption was that we would figure out AI, and we would figure out how to enmesh that AI into a fairly convincing, ambulatory robotic body. And hey, we're closing in on that now. We've more or less figured out the whole walking bit, although it still looks a little bit weird, and our AI is getting surprisingly competent already. And once we do manage to make convincing AI that can act like a human being, except, never angry, never upset, never frustrated, always happy, chipper, and perfect, and then ensconce that within the perfect physical form as well, I honestly predict that by that point, the idea of human-on-human relationships will be considered a bit weird, a bit, crusty and old-fashioned, and probably a little bit gross as well, honestly. Not to mention risque. I would happily predict that within the next 100, 200 years, we will arrive at the point where human-on-human relationships are not only rare, but probably actually regulated, where you can't bonk another human without previous permission for dangers of spreading diseases or becoming pregnant, etc., etc. But we are deviating somewhat from the point here. The prediction was, of course, that we would see the end of men first, or at the very least, women's need for them. It's hardly a secret that women have been banging robots for quite some time already, although by robot we mean plastic toy with a battery, so we're stretching the definition somewhat here. But see, back in 2016, we still had this intriguing interpretation of reality as if, how do I put it? On the one hand, it seemed as if we were in kind of a gendered competition. At the very least, the feminists kept arguing that we were in a war, we have to defeat the men who have been oppressing us. Meanwhile, men were kind of just like, oh, yeah, you, go, girl, power, or whatever. Is there any other rights we can give you that you need? And it was, much like technological achievement, assumed that this would kind of just continue, with men continuing to grant women whatever, because if you stop to think about this, this makes no sense. Why would a sex bot for women be developed first? Why would this be the, goal of technology? I mean, you're aiming at the smaller market here. Men are far more likely to spend a frightening quantity of money on a robotic waifu than women are, seeing as they still have access to the fleshy ones. Not to mention, of course, that the development of a robot waifu is really goddamn complicated and really goddamn expensive, to the point where our orifice AI... I goddamn love that. I mean, this is basically the most advanced waifu we've created. Which isn't saying much because, well, it's essentially just a flashlight that you pin to your desk. With LED lights on it, granted. I do like that little touch. It's like, listen, we're gonna pin a flashlight to a desk. How can we make this more immersive? And one person was like, let's have it like moan when you poke it. That's a feature. I know. And the other guy's like, oh, I know, light up display. I don't know why that's so funny to me. Really? You wanna mount LED lights inside of your table-mounted flashlights? Are we sure? I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it very much so is. And as laughable as this kind of is, yeah, no, unironically, this is probably how it will start, where you take a simple interface like this. I think they're talking about like being able to generate like an AI companion in the future. So you'll have a companion character on the screen who will then be the waifu in question, right? Then you pin the flashlight to the desk and engage in your business, and the character on screen will then be given a AI so that it can react, I suppose, and then eventually expand that into more of a ChatGPT level AI, where you can, I mean, they were always called Gatebox, those little Japanese thingy-bobs where you've got the little hologram inside of it with a waifu. That would then be the next step. Give the waifu the ability to communicate with you via voice or writing, etc., and then begin to integrate it into more software, as that is also something that they're planning here, to basically have like content created for their desk-mounted flashlight. And as gentle of a beginning as this is, I mean, there is definitely a market for this, and the potential for evolution here is enormous. I mean, one of the biggest gaming successes right now, the Me Side game, which I was gifted for New Year, so I'll probably have to look into that. What is that? It's people are basically presenting it as if it's a waifu sim, and it's sold like 9 million copies already. Unironically, if anybody's going to be replaced, it ain't men, but it might very well be women. Already, women have, in many cases, developed rather unreachable standards, shall we say, and the dating market is often lambasted for being rather savage in this day and age. Do you really think that if you give the majority of men the ability to generate an artificial waifu whom they can then pleasure themselves with, that they might not simply check out of the dating market entirely? I mean, we've already seen a microcosm of this in Japan, where several, not just one, several generations of men have grown up with anime waifus everywhere, and they couldn't even bang those. Oh yeah, no. Once this technology begins to mature, and honestly, it won't even require that much for it to do so, we're going to see something rather interesting happening in the gender wars. The orifice is one hell of a name. In modern standards, AI women are in fact women. If the code identifies as one, then it is. I mean, hey, can you argue? If we have, as we have indeed done, arrived at the point where mere identification as a gender means you are that, well, shit. There you go. AI women are women. Incidentally, I really hope we don't get to the point where we're talking about robot rights anytime soon, because that's going to happen. And I kind of hope I'll be around for that discussion, because I have some pretty strident thoughts on the matter, but anywho, mostly just for the funnies, orifice AI. The first robotic vagina powered by I feel like, honestly, I feel like maybe we didn't need the AI for the desk-mounted fleshlight. But again, gentle beginnings and all that, right? But the funny part is, again, in 2016, when women and feminists, more correctly, not women, feminists, let's be more precise here, were whining the loudest about how they didn't have any rights, they didn't have any powers or privileges, and they were outcast and victims of society, they were still thinking that they were the ones to get AI lovers developed for them first. Well, once more, accurate prediction, incorrect gender. Till next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.